This is the 2004 D Wisconsin extra leaf quarters. There are two varieties known. There's a low leaf and a high leaf. The low leaf has two marks under the left leaf of the corn on the design, right here. And the high leaf has one mark in the same area but with a different orientation. Now, how were these extra leaf varieties made? That's a big question. These showed up in Tucson in late 2004 and San Antonio, and created a big stir, and ever since their discovery, the cause of the marks has been debated. But now we can conclusively tell you the exact cause. Were they on purpose or by accident? Did someone at the mint make the marks, or is it random dye damage? Well, here's a die and the resulting coin, and you can see that the die is incuse and backwards. To make a die, it has to be soft when they put the design elements in, and then they harden the die to strike coins. Annealing is softening the dies. Annealing involves raising the temperature of the metal and then slow cooling it to impart the softest possible condition to the die steel. Dies can be easily manipulated after annealing. Designs are added and altered while annealed. This is when they impart the design, put mint marks on, punch the dates in, at least for 19th century coins. Here we have a hardened letter O punch is stamped into an annealed state quarter die. And note the depth of the impression, and there's metal distortion around the O. This is very important. On a heat-treated die, heat-treated involves raising the temperature of the metal and then cooling it quickly. This makes it very strong, and dies are difficult to manipulate after heat treating. Designs cannot be added or altered significantly while heat treated. Now here we took the same O punch and stamped it into a heat treated die, and it didn't go very deep, and the edges are very sharp, and there's no deformation around the letter. This is a low leaf viewed with a scanning electron microscope. The scanning electron microscope can measure distances exactly, and we can see damage and all kinds of detail that we couldn't measure through a regular microscope. Now here's some two marks on the low leaf design, and as you can see, they're repeating. This is obviously damage that was on the object that made the impressions, and it was impressed onto the die twice, leaving repeating marks. If we blow it up, we can see that the impacts there were two separate impressions. The first impression was below, and then the second impression above it slightly distorted the first impression. The diagonal lines you see there are flow lines and occur on the die from striking coins. It's not an indication of any die manufacturer problem or anything. Also, this shows that the curves were not carved into the die using any kind of sharp tool. Another area of interest is this area, which has a sunken area on the coin. Now, on the die, that means it's raised above the field. And this is very interesting because during the hubbing process, you cannot have the field raise above the hub. This shows that the impacted area distorted the die while it was soft, and that it didn't happen while it was being hubbed. This is the high leaf version, or variety, and it has similar marks on on the from the impacting object. Also, the arc of the two varieties is very similar and likely the same, and pretty much proves that the impacting object is the same for both varieties. Now, when we found these quarters in Tucson, they came mixed in rolls, maybe 2 or 3 of one variety and 3 or 4 of another variety, and the rest were non-varieties. And this makes sense when you realize that at the Mint, the Denver Mint, they have 5 presses striking single coins per press, and each press goes in, the coins from each press go into one hopper, and they are mixed. So if you had a single roll of all one variety, that couldn't happen in the present time. And from our presentation here, you can conclude that both dies were soft when they were impacted. And both dies were impacted with the same object, likely a circular tool with a hammer blow. These dies were most likely made by a Denver Mint employee who had access to an annealed die. Now, the only reason we say most likely is because that Denver Mint employee has not spoken up and claimed credit yet. But you can draw a conclusion from our presentation that there's no other choice. It could not have happened after the die was hardened and put into the press as well. I'd like to thank you for listening to this presentation. Special thanks to Chris Pilliard, metallurgist and die variety expert, for making the images used here. I'm Rick Snow, die variety expert and Flying Eagle and Indian scent specialist. Thank you.